Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time, finally, once again, doing another film review. And this one is on Rambo Last Blood. Now, as you know, Rambo Last Blood is a 2019 vigilante action film, which of course is meant to be a sequel to the 2008 film Rambo that I did cover, and the fifth installment in the Rambo film series. And the best way I can sum up Rambo Last Blood is going a little more serious. It's dropping the same over-the-top stuff that I think the other Rambo films were known for, and trying to go a little bit more back to the serious tone like the first film. And the premise of the film, Rambo Last Blood, is meant to take place 11 years after the events of the 2008 film Rambo. We do see how Rambo is now living a normal day-to-day life at his deceased father's horse ranch, and we do see how Rambo now has built this new life for himself with his old friend Maria and her granddaughter Gabriella. And we do see how Gabriella is told by her friend Giselle that she's found Gabriella's father, and despite Rambo and her grandmother's protests, this is where Gabriella thinks that maybe she can finally understand a bit more about her father, why he left her, and so forth. The only difference between the two is Maria knows full well the kind of person obviously Gabriella's father is, while Rambo knows how the real world works, and he knows that there are just some people who don't change, and sometimes the good you could be seeing is just a reflection of yourself. And we do see how after, obviously, something that happens to Gabriella in Mexico, we see how Rambo goes through thick and thin to try and get her back, but also having to deal with two dangerous drug and prostitution cartel members known obviously as Hugo as well as Don. The difference between Hugo and Don is Hugo is a bit more of this sophisticated villain. He's a little more over the board, but a bit more obviously trying to keep a steady business. Well, obviously his brother is meant to be over the top, zany, and a little bit more sleazy. And I can see the point of the film is trying to go for is showing how Rambo is now older. He's now kind of seen what the real world's like. And at this point, Rambo is done, obviously, trying to give a rat's ass about obviously seeing the good in things. And I think it makes sense that even if Rambo does try to do good, new threats, new problems, and new issues are always going to come. And that is obviously part of being human. It's obviously accepted that some people have to kind of live with the damages from their actions. And you can kind of get the sense, like, obviously the whole point of, I think, Gabriella having to kind of now learn that the good she wanted to see in her father was just a reflection of herself, and got kind of fooled and manipulated by her own kindness. I think what the film gets right at near the end, where obviously Rambo sets his home up in a booby trap fashion, it really shows you, due to being a war veteran, also having combat experience, and obviously having to kind of be prepared for any possible dangers, shows you just how good of a sort of strategist Rambo is. The difference between Kevin from Home Alone and John Rambo is Kevin sets up the traps in a over-the-top, cartoony fashion. Here, at this point in Last Blood, it's Rambo being a combat specialist. He's obviously had combat training. He's been in Vietnam. He knows literally the environment around him. He can strategize this perfectly. And I think it makes clear that even if Hugo and his men do go in, they are not going to come out of this. And I know the point of the original ending was meant to kill off Rambo, but I think what the film gets right at is seeing Rambo sit on the porch, remembering, having all of his memories and that, all of his exploits, and setting up on his horse to leave the ranch, sums up that Rambo is never going to get that normal life now, and it's all been tarnished, and it's him setting forth to fight other problems, other issues, and other trials and that we as the audience are never really going to see again. I think to me, Rambo Last Blood is at least trying to fix things over the other sequels. And I think despite the whole negative attitude towards Mexico, and I think despite obviously having to rely on a semi-okay script, it obviously knew it had to go a little more darker, realistic, and back to the first film elements before the sequels went cartoony, over the top, and so forth. It's kind of alright, kind of okay. It's just there to fix itself over the other cartoony sequels. So it definitely deserves a thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, but kind of okay. And I think the Rambo film series, in my opinion, is okay at best, but it knew what it had to be. Something enjoyable, something people to enjoy, and also trying to show the difference between Rocky Balboa and the Rambo film series. So I think the Rambo film series definitely deserves 2 thumbs in the middles. It's an okay series. It knew what it had to do, just to be there to have some obviously laughably bad material despite a partly good script from time to time. So, comic reviewer here, signing out.